the site of many a popular Bollywood scene and song, a sylvan green space in a city bursting with cement, concrete, and dust, and the green lungs of one of the poshest locations in India's financial capital. I'm standing now in the iconic Hanging Gardens of South Mumbai. These lovely gardens and their tall trees have been around for over 100 years, but today they are staring at an uncertain future. Let's find out more about the Hanging Gardens, its lovely trees, and what the future holds in store for it in this episode of Tree Talk. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are said to have been one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. The Hanging Gardens of Malabar Hill are wondrous too, and the reason they're called the Hanging Gardens is simply because they're located at the top of a hill overlooking the sea.
If you have visited the Hanging Gardens, known officially as the Firosha Mehta Garden, you would know that it is a very popular place. Every morning and evening, the garden sees a huge footfall of regular walkers and joggers. Baby's day out or an outing with the family, field trip for school, couples taking a stroll, some soulful time for the aged, or simply groups out on nature walks. You'll find all kinds at the popular garden that offers a panoramic view of Mumbai from atop a hill. On weekends, it attracts even more visitors from families across India that want to get a glimpse of the sights and smells of Mumbai to foreign tourists out on a Mumbai heritage walk. For this garden is, after all, a heritage garden whose story goes back a long, long time. 300 years ago, this area, called the Malabar Hill today, was a dense forest in which lived hyenas and tigers.
Legend has it that Malabar Hill gets its name from the Malabar pirates, that is, the pirates who frequented the Malabar coast of India that would often make their way to the waters near this area. And there was a lookout point on this hill, and the Malabar Hill watchtower was built to look out for the Malabar pirates coming into these waters.
Gradually, the British began building homes on the hill and started settling there. More settlers followed, and bungalows sprung up in what was once dense jungle area. As people started living on the hill, naturally there was a need for water and other basic resources. Distant lakes like Baitarna and Tulsi in the north of Mumbai had been tapped for supplying water to the city via huge tunnels, and one of the many waterworks that sprung up back then happens to be right here, under this garden.
The Hanging Gardens were in fact constructed over the Malabar Hill Reservoir, which holds a huge amount of water that supplies water to large parts of South Mumbai. And this monument here in the Hanging Gardens bears testimony to the construction of the reservoir way back in the year 1880.
The Malabar Hill Reservoir was one of the first artificial reservoirs to be built in what was then Bombay, with arch-type masonry and a wooden roof. The garden was laid over the roof of the reservoir around 1887 and was later redone sometime in the 1930s.
And today, over 100 years after it was first constructed, the municipal corporation claims that the reservoir underneath the gardens is in need of renovation. And it is this need that is putting the Hanging Gardens and the beautiful trees in the gardens and the peripheral areas at risk.
Sometime in late 2023, regular visitors to the garden suddenly found tree removal notices affixed to many of the trees in the park and its adjacent areas, marking them out for the axe. Upon further inquiry, it came to light that the Mumbai Municipal Corporation had plans to enhance the capacity of the water reservoir under the garden, and in order to go ahead with the plan, had decided to cut 189 trees and transplant 200 of them from the area. Several concerned citizens got together and started a concerted campaign to save these trees. Upon digging further, they got to know the detailed reports and plans for the reconstruction of the reservoir. From media to minister, they took the matter to every forum they could. An open letter was written to the chief of the municipal corporation raising concerns about the reservoir by three respected civil engineers of the city, who alleged in the letter that the project, over which the municipal authorities plan to spend nearly 700 crore rupees, is a fraud perpetrated on the citizens of Mumbai. Further, they go on to say, "We trust you will stop this project in the interest of the citizens, even if it goes against the interests of your chief engineer." Following this open letter and the determined and persistent efforts of the citizen groups that led to public knowledge of the project, the matter was referred to an expert committee to examine the need for reconstruction of the reservoir in the first place. A fast expanding city, greater demand for water, an old reservoir in need of attention. It can be argued that there is a good case to be made by the planning authority. But logically, shouldn't examining various possibilities and alternatives be steps that precede the final plan? If you encounter a problem in your house, would you tear it down without examining if it can be fixed with minor repairs? Not surprisingly, once all this came out in the open, these ideas began getting discussed. The expert committee was formed, it conducted site visits, and their report on whether the reservoir can make do with functional repairs without need for a complete overhaul and reconstruction is now awaited. And the interim report that was released just days before this video seems to provide some hope for the trees. From its gigantic jackfruits to its towering rain trees, the gorgeous Kailashpatis to fragrant sandalwoods, the gardens have been home to grand old trees for several decades. And these trees are in turn the refuge of several birds, insects, and life forms. It is not just the garden itself, but the peripheral areas like this road leading from Hanging Garden to Shantivan that also have some large old trees. Apart from being a carbon sink for a bustling city, it is a supply of life sustaining oxygen, respite from the dust and noise of the metropolis, a place to meet friends, and much, much more.
Today, this area is no longer frequented by pirates and wild animals, but by joggers, picnickers, school children, and families craving some open space in a city where so little of it is available.
Sample these reports about the rapidly declining green cover in the city, or the correlation between that and the rising temperatures. In fact, the role of this garden and its trees in the mental, physical, and psychological well being of people is testified by the municipal corporation itself in this plaque placed in the center of the park that reads, "Experience confirms that friends who regularly meet and walk in the garden have remained healthy and fit for the day." How this story will unfold and end in the coming days, I cannot tell. But in an age when asking questions to people in power is labeled anti national, this is a case in point to show that staying vigilant, asking questions, and demanding accountability from those in power is the strongest safeguard of citizens in a democracy. Let nobody lead you to believe otherwise.
If this episode of Tree Talk helped you appreciate trees, I'd urge you to spend some time every week to learn about the trees around you, around your office, your home, your school, and slowly you will form a connection and bond with them. Do also take a look at some of the other episodes on this channel. Share this with friends in the hope that hanging gardens and these lovely trees will continue to survive and thrive for many, many years. And do subscribe to stay posted.